Lin Jian ate the fruit, which was not white inside as he had expected. As soon as he swallowed, he felt his body becoming lighter, filled with energy. The hunger and cold that had plagued him vanished instantly. Yuan Kongye then gave Lin Jian a sacred mission, to cultivate the holy tree with his abilities. Only by doing so could the tree grow stronger and provide food for more followers. Lin Jian gladly accepted the command from the sect leader. He approached the base of the tree and made a small cut on his finger. However, even though it was just a minor wound, his blood flowed like a river. The holy tree eagerly absorbed every drop that fell. Yuan Kongye then stepped forward, healed Lin Jian's finger, and ordered that from now on, he must feed the holy tree with his blood every day. This was his noble duty. Meanwhile, in another part of the frozen world, Zhang Yi's home was warm and full of life. Everyone was training hard to grow stronger and healthier. Chun Lei, being the weakest among them, pushed himself harder than anyone. His allies were combat experts, each a monster in their own field, making him feel inadequate. Determined to improve, Chun Lei worked tirelessly to replace his body fat with muscle. Zhang Yi approached him and advised, strength grows with training, but more importantly, you must have intelligence. Focus on that. Power is just a weapon, your mind is what controls it. Chun Lei was taken aback by Zhang Yi's words. He suddenly realized that a pebble thrown by a master was deadlier than a shuriken thrown by an amateur. He had been too fixated on physical strength alone. Now, his focus shifted to unlocking the full potential of his abilities. Music. A month passed, filled with rigorous training at Zhang Yi's base and an abundance of apples at the Snow Sect. Then, in the most unexpected place, something terrifying occurred. At the ruins of the Shirshan base, a horde of zombies began to rise from the corpses that had been left behind after the base's destruction. In the shelter, Shinsen was discussing the King Pu base with Zhang Yi. It seemed that King Pu's forces were still playing it safe, refusing to launch attacks or attempt external invasions. They were satisfied with their current territory. After suffering a brutal defeat in the war between the 5 armies, their leader, Wing Hai, had been severely wounded. Now, he was more cautious than ever, continuously retreating into his defensive lines. This retreat had even allowed other armed factions to emerge within his domain. As for the Snow Sect, they had become the greatest beneficiaries of the last war. Their followers had multiplied rapidly, possibly reaching tens of thousands. Shinsen wanted to warn his leader about the looming dangers posed by other bases, but Zhang Yi dismissed the idea. He did not see the Snow Sect as a threat, nor did he believe that their leader was strong enough to mobilize such a massive force. Shinsen, using his sharp mind, tried to convince Zhang Yi otherwise. He explained that the world was teetering on the edge of collapse, even worse than the previous era of chaos. In times like these, the balance of power could shift drastically. I know you have no grand ambitions, Shinsen argued. You just want to live peacefully. But that doesn't mean the world will let you. Other powerful people think the same way. The Snow Sect will soon become the dominant force in Tianhai, and they won't even need violence to do it. Once their numbers are large enough and their doctrine spreads, even the 3 major bases, or at least some factions within them, might assimilate. Shinsen was certain that they were trying to create a new world order. But Zhang Yi still found the idea ridiculous. He believed that just having a large number of people was not enough to dominate. Against a well-equipped modern army, sheer numbers alone would not grant absolute power. Shinsen reminded him that Yuan Kongye could awaken new mutants. Zhang Yi acknowledged that mutants were simply humans with enhanced strength, but very few of them were truly powerful enough to be feared. For the first time, Zhang Yi started to reconsider his stance. He realized he needed to remain vigilant against the Snow Sect. Their conversation was suddenly interrupted. Zhang Yi noticed something outside the base. A massive horde of zombies was heading toward their bunker. He immediately ordered Shinsen to alert everyone and gather in the main hall to prepare for battle. Then, he stepped outside to inspect what had triggered the alarm. Shinsen, confused and uneasy, muttered to himself, "Where did all these people come from? With this many, could it be that the other bases have united to launch an attack?" Zhang Yi turned back, his expression grim. Uncle Yu appeared to ask about the situation. From a distance, Zhang Yi realized that the approaching figures were zombies, not ordinary humans. Lien found it hard to believe, even as he saw them with his own eyes. Judging by their clothing, he suspected they were from the Shirshan base, which Zhang Yi confirmed. However, what was truly strange was that these bodies, which should have been frozen solid, were still able to move. With his intelligence, Xian quickly deduced that a virus had been released. Zhang Yi agreed but remained calm, believing that while these zombies were terrifying, they shouldn't be too powerful. He took up his weapon, determined to put a few of them down for good. Karen, eager for action, requested a weapon and offered to help. Zhang Yi handed her a simple firearm, reminding her to be careful and not to shoot any allies by mistake. As they stepped outside to confront the undead, Uncle Yu charged forward immediately. "Be careful, Uncle Yu," Zhang Yi warned. Lien swung his sword, while Zhang Yi demonstrated his precise shooting skills. Karen, grinning, challenged Chun to a contest, who could take down the most zombies. However, their confidence was shattered when a headshot zombie suddenly got back up. Bullets weren't enough. Even close-range attacks proved ineffective, as the zombies could dodge and withstand stabbing strikes. The terror grew as the zombies moved with unnatural speed, encircling their targets and attacking with vicious bites. Uncle Yu, even without a sword, managed to cleave a zombie in half using only a shovel. Yet, even as it was split in two, the zombie continued to crawl forward. It then lunged toward Chun and Karen, forcing them to stay even more alert. On the other side, Zhang Yi used his dimensional portal to trap the attacking zombies. His abilities continued to impress Chun, but Zhang Yi himself was more surprised by the zombies' reactions. They seemed to retreat when they sensed the danger of his dimensional portal. But that shouldn't be possible. Zombies, as mutated corpses, weren't supposed to have intelligence. Zhang Yi began to suspect that someone was controlling them. The missing bodies of the soldiers also felt suspicious. To take control of the situation, Zhang Yi pulled out a tank and gave instructions to Uncle Yu and Lien Yu. "On the count of 3, jump as high as you can." As Zhang Yi fired the tank, the explosion lifted them into the air, giving them a moment of warmth before they landed and sprinted away from the horde. Realizing that his ammunition was limited, Zhang Yi switched to a flamethrower and ordered Uncle Yu and Lien Yu to move faster. He unleashed a wave of fire toward the closest zombies and, once again, saw them retreat. This confirmed his suspicion: someone was controlling the zombies. The hidden manipulator had likely decided to withdraw, choosing to preserve their forces after realizing that Zhang Yi's team was too difficult to defeat. Lien was puzzled. How could someone control thousands of zombies, especially frozen corpses that keep moving even when cut apart? Zhang Yi insisted that they needed to gather more information. To understand the nature of these creatures, he absorbed the zombie bodies into his dimensional space. There, the zombies were treated as organic matter, not living beings. Zhang Yi then retrieved several flamethrowers and instructed his team to burn every remaining zombie fragment before returning home. Upon their arrival, Yang Mi looked horrified, mistaking the zombie corpses for ghosts. Jaime quickly reassured her. Zhang Yi explained that these zombies exhibited intelligent behavior. They avoided his dimensional portal and retreated when sensing danger. This only strengthened his belief that someone was controlling them. Yukare asked, "Why did the zombies attack this place?" Meanwhile, Xin reminded them that their main enemies were Basi Xiangsheng and Chao Yu. Yukare added another concern. If someone had this much power, why didn't they use it in the previous battles? Without a clear answer, the group decided to stay within the shelter, where they were safest from the zombies. Xin was tasked with monitoring whether this phenomenon was limited to their location or spreading across Tianhai. Uncle Yu and Lien were ordered to check their physical condition, ensuring that they had no wounds that could lead to infection. Yukare was assigned to investigate the zombies further, searching for evidence of a virus or the possibility of an individual with unique control abilities. Zhang Yi knew that discovering the source of this control was critical to stopping the threat. If a virus was responsible, the consequences could be catastrophic, not just for Tianhai, but for the entire world. However, if a single individual was controlling the zombies, then there was someone in the city far more dangerous than any enemy they had encountered before. This realization sent a shiver down Yukare's spine. The world was once again on the brink of disaster before they had even tasted true peace. Zhang Yi reassured her, saying, "For now, what matters most is keeping ourselves safe within the shelter." The final task fell to Yukare. She began analyzing the zombie tissue samples. Although fascinated by their strange properties, she remained cautious, as the remains still showed signs of movement. She needed more time to understand them. Yukare grew increasingly worried. While their group was capable of fighting the zombies, weaker bases, such as the Snow Sect, would be in serious danger if attacked. Her fear soon became a reality. At the Yangqing base, a massive zombie horde launched a devastating assault. For a moment, Honglian hesitated. But with her fire abilities, she fought back. However, the sheer number of zombies overwhelmed her. She quickly drank a special solution, boosting her power, and incinerated the entire horde before investigating further. Honglian realized that these zombies were not normal. Someone was behind this attack. Determined to uncover the truth, she ordered an immediate investigation into the mastermind controlling the undead. At the Chaoyu base, a similar attack occurred. The leader, Wei Dinghai, utilized the warship's weapons to fight back against the zombies, but he remained confused about the origin of the attack and the possibility of an organization behind it. Meanwhile, at the Snow Sect, the followers enjoyed the warmth around the fire and the fruits of the sacred tree, unaware of the zombie horde approaching from a distance, bringing a new threat to their gates. Creatures that once existed only in fiction were now real. Panic erupted at the Snow Sect headquarters as zombies launched their assault. Soldiers tried to fight back but were quickly overwhelmed and retreated into the temple. Moments later, a blast of fire drove the zombies back, and Zhang Yi emerged from the temple, accompanied by the Snow Sect mutants. With his fire abilities, Zhang Yi held a clear advantage over the S-class zombies. He ordered Li Zhan and Geng Hua to stay inside the temple to protect the leaders and followers, while the others were tasked with facing the threat. One soldier, having transformed into a werewolf, quickly decapitated a zombie. However, he soon realized that even without a head, the zombie continued to move. He began cutting the bodies into smaller pieces to stop them completely. After 30 minutes of intense battle, the scattered zombie parts were collected and brought to an abandoned building. Zhang Yi commanded a thorough examination to ensure that no one had been injured, as it was highly likely the zombies carried a biological virus. His subordinate immediately ordered several people to isolate and observe the remains. Upon inspection, he concluded that these zombies were different from those portrayed on television. They showed intelligence and strategy. He accused another base of being behind the attack and demanded accountability. However, their top priority remained the protection of the Snow Sect from future threats. Zhang Yi warned that a new storm was on the horizon. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi received a call from an ally at the Qingpu base, which had also been attacked. Over 100 lives had been lost. His friend asked about the origin of the zombies and compared them to those in Resident Evil. Zhang Yi explained that these zombies were strange. They didn't die even when beheaded and appeared to be under someone's control. Hearing that the Qingpu base, over 100 kilometers away, was also attacked, Zhang Yi realized the scale of the problem was far greater than he had imagined. Xing Tian mentioned that over 10 million people had died in Tianhai during the catastrophe, and he feared they might all turn into zombies. Zhang Yi advised him to stay calm and work on coordinating efforts with the other bases. The next day, Zhang Yi's headquarters was attacked once again. But this time, they were better prepared. Chun created a thick fog, disorienting the zombies. Uncle Yu then used a flamethrower to burn them, reducing the zombies to ashes and rendering them immobile. Watching from the window, Yu Keier concluded that the zombies carried a virus that thrived in cold temperatures and weakened under heat. Once burned, the zombies began to flee. Still, Zhang Yi remained uneasy. He explained to Chun that although they had managed to repel the previous assault, the number of zombies this time was much larger. This suggested the virus was spreading quickly, and those who died would likely become zombies. Zhang Yi ordered everyone to return to the shelter while he explained the situation further. Back at home, Zhang Yi expressed his concern that if the situation continued to deteriorate, the entire city of Tianhai could be overrun. This fear made everyone anxious. Xin pointed out that the current attack still seemed controlled, as their enemy had yet to unleash their full power. However, without uncovering the truth behind the zombie outbreak, it would be difficult to prevent future threats. Karen voiced her concern about the summer heat potentially accelerating corpse decay. Zhang Yi reminded everyone that the main threat wasn't just the number of zombies, but the fact that someone was controlling them. They weren't acting like ordinary monsters. What made things worse was that there were only two reliable ways to kill them, by burning them or cutting their bodies into small pieces. Xin emphasized the importance of confronting the mastermind behind it all. But Zhang Yi admitted it would be difficult to find that person, as the enemy always managed to escape. Amid the uncertainty, Yu Keier shared her findings. Over the past 2 days, she had discovered that the zombies carried an ancient virus capable of surviving in extreme conditions, even at temperatures of 100 degrees Celsius. The virus resembled a hybrid between a virus, a living cell, and fungal colony behavior. It could invade a host's nervous system to control it, while also reproducing like modern viruses. When Zhang Yi asked her to explain it more simply, Yu Keier said that after the apocalypse, biology itself had changed. The zombie virus now functioned like a biological colony, showing signs of intelligence when in large groups. However, when separated from the group, their reactive abilities weakened. She suspected the existence of a mother virus, a central source controlling the entire population, similar to how biological colonies operate. If this mother virus could be destroyed, all infected zombies might die. Although she couldn't confirm it yet, the zombies' behavior did show signs of basic intelligence. Zhang Yi began to realize that although the zombie attacks over the past 2 days had been fierce, their tactics were simplistic. It resembled the behavior of young children just learning how to act. Lien suspected the zombies were mutated humans who had been infected after death, a theory that made sense to Zhang Yi. He concluded that the infection might be triggered by a critical condition before death, which activated the virus mutation. They all understood the importance of carefully observing zombie behavior to find a way to defeat them. They began by clearing the area around them to prevent further danger. Lien raised a new concern. How could the zombies spread to multiple regions of Tianhai at the same time? Sin suggested that the Tianhai subway system, which connected the entire city, might be how the zombies moved between areas. This explained why the number of zombies in their area was relatively lower, as they were located along a secondary route. Zhang Yi ordered Xin to monitor activity at other bases while they worked on a definitive solution to the zombie threat. He emphasized that the survival of others was not their responsibility. If people refused to take drastic steps, they would have no choice but to keep fighting. Zhang Yi felt somewhat calmer now, especially since the number of followers in the Snow sect was increasing rapidly. To him, losing a few people during this crisis wasn't entirely bad, because it acted as a filter, allowing only the strong to survive. Some time later, the zombies launched another attack, this time at night, unlike previous times. The team was ready for them. But Zhang Yi questioned whether the nighttime assault was deliberate. Perhaps because the zombies found daytime fights harder. He poured fuel around the bunker, but the zombies avoided crossing the dangerous substance. This showed that they were learning, something that was deeply troubling. It confirmed the theory that zombies could learn. Zhang Yi decided to ensure that all zombies were eliminated. He mounted a mutant cat so he could monitor the zombies from behind and prevent them from escaping. Only 3 people were placed on the front lines. Zhang Yi gave the signal for them to begin their attack. Chun-Lei used her ice powers to freeze the approaching zombies. Lien struck with the aura of her sword. And Uncle Yu followed up with bursts of flame. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi watched from behind. He supported them with accurate shots, disabling zombies by hitting their joints. The mutant cat fought with its powerful body, cornering groups of zombies one by one. After a long battle, all the zombies were finally defeated, and the team returned to their leader. Zhang Yi concluded that the Zombie King was not among them, though he was clearly still controlling the zombies' movements. Their goal wasn't destruction, it was to gather information for the Zombie King. If this tactic evolved, a larger army could be on its way. Zhang Yi realized they had to act now, not just defend. He implanted hidden cameras in the eyes of one of the zombies, hoping to investigate the subway station more thoroughly. Lien asked if they planned to explore the depths of the subway and destroy the zombie nest. Zhang Yi knew the best defense was a strategic offense. To prove this, he attacked a fallen zombie, then let it escape. Now, they just needed to wait. A while later, Zhang Yi turned on the television linked to the zombie's eye camera. It was like watching a real-life zombie movie. Just as Yu Qiara and Xin had predicted, all of them were inside the subway. Chun-Lei was horrified at the thought of becoming a zombie after death. Xin tried to calm her down, explaining that becoming a zombie required virus contamination. And they still didn't know if that applied to them. Zhang Yi said that even if they wanted to gather all the dead bodies to prevent more zombies, it would be impossible to collect 10 million corpses. Their primary focus had to be finding and defeating the Zombie King. Suddenly, Zhang Yi's attention was drawn to one zombie that stood out in the crowd, something strange, like an avatar. When the creature realized it was being watched, it looked directly into the camera. Zhang Yi nearly panicked. But this confirmed what they had suspected, the Zombie King was there. Still, how could they kill the Zombie King with so many undead hiding underground? Even if they were all armed, who knew how long they could last? Chun, afraid, asked how they could defeat millions of zombies in the subway. Xin added that the subway connected the entire city of Tianhai. The Zombie King would likely flee at the first sign of danger. Despite the challenges, Zhang Yi stood firm. They had to try. The numbers didn't matter. What mattered was stopping the zombies from escaping. So, they would start with the subway. Lien suggested beginning at the subway exits to prevent any escape. The main objective was to kill the Zombie King. If the king was captured or killed, the rest would fall into place. As for the other zombies, there were still plenty of ways to handle them. Uncle Yu agreed to act quickly, either following the plan or offering suggestions. Zhang Yi decided they needed to prepare immediately. Then enter the zombie nest and carry out their mission. Chun-Lei hesitated at Zhang Yi's decision. It seemed too rushed, diving into enemy territory without enough information. But Zhang Yi had reasons he hadn't revealed. A hidden confidence in something they didn't yet know. What mattered most was that if necessary, he could lead them out of the subway safely, without being reckless. He chose not to share his secret. Lien accepted his decision and felt there was no need to worry. Yang Mi then prepared a delicious meal to boost everyone's energy for the next day. Meanwhile, at Yangsheng's base, Hong Lian successfully repelled another zombie attack with her troops. She realized they couldn't rely on defense alone. A soldier reported that all the zombies had been defeated. However, 67 soldiers and slaves had become casualties. This information convinced Hong Lian that they needed to take action. Her assistant asked if that meant launching a preemptive strike. Hong Lian understood that the zombies' actions were being controlled by someone. They needed more information to deal with this crisis. Though it was risky, her right hand advised they observe the situation first. Perhaps another force would rise to resolve the problem. But Hong Lian believed the massive number of zombies, combined with the snow sect gathering more than 10,000 people, was like preparing lunch for the undead. She firmly stated that they couldn't rely on anyone else. If they were to rely on something, it should only be themselves. With that decision, Xiao Hong Lian ordered Dong Ku to take 2 outsiders and 30 elite soldiers to investigate the zombie nest. Meanwhile, in the Snow Sect, Zhang Yi was informed that in the last attack, more than 1,000 people had died and would likely become new zombies. Additionally, new followers were experiencing a crisis of faith and might abandon the sect, damaging the morale of others. Zhang Yi explained that in the past few days, his right-hand man had been organizing people to spread the message that almost all survivors outside had been wiped out by zombies. Without the Snow Sect's protection, they stood no chance against the zombie onslaught. It was better to die in faith and attain salvation than to die outside in sin and become a zombie. Zhang Yi decided to spread news that all other bases had been destroyed, with more than half their residents dead. His assistant agreed, seeing this as an effective way to motivate the followers. In the infected outposts, piles of corpses were everywhere. Although people felt safe behind the walls, they had no idea what was happening beyond them. All they could see was the mountain of bodies. Zhang Yi instructed that this information be broadcasted, blaming the tragedy on their lack of devotion to the Snow Sect. This way, they would realize that joining the sect was a blessing. His assistant made sure the message was spread and praised the high priest's wisdom. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi and his team approached the entrance to the subway tunnels. Their mission, to eliminate the Zombie King. Zhang Yi believed they could defeat it if they found it. But safety was still the top priority. They couldn't afford to get trapped in a battle against a horde of zombies. There was no point in killing many if it cost them everything. Zhang Yi threw a light stick forward and sent Uncle Yu ahead. He was the key player in this operation. The surroundings were chaotic, but no enemies were visible, so they continued their advance. The team consisted of 4 others, plus the mutant cat. Despite the horrifying sights around them, they had no choice but to move forward. Zhang Yi explained that zombies acted on instinct to feed, not to infect dead bodies and turn them into new zombies. Chun, understanding this, noted that the zombies seemed to have enormous appetites. She recalled that the number of dead in Tianhai far outweighed the living, hoping that they would merely become food, not new zombies. She also wondered what the zombies would do once they ran out of food. Would they migrate to another city? Zhang Yi answered that it didn't matter. What mattered was killing the Zombie King to ensure there were no more zombies near their shelter. As they ran, the mutant cat sensed something lurking nearby. Lien threw a knife and hit the creature directly. When they approached to investigate, they discovered a giant rat, larger than the cat itself. This shocked Chun, despite her own massive body. Zhang Yi explained that if his cat could mutate and grow, it was no surprise rats could do the same. Chun grew worried, seeing how many bodies the rat had eaten. She suspected there were many more mutant rats in the area. Zhang Yi told them to keep moving. But suddenly, thousands of mutant rats poured out of doors along the corridor, attacking swiftly. Zhang Yi armed everyone with flamethrowers, initially intended for zombies. But they proved highly effective against the rats as well. They roasted the rats to halt their advance and continued on their journey. Their goal was to hunt the Zombie King, not to fight rats. To demonstrate his power, Zhang Yi opened 2 massive dimensional portals. From both portals, rats were drawn in from either side of the corridor. Lien was impressed by Zhang Yi's increasingly powerful abilities. Zhang Yi explained that after their last battle, he had studied dimensional magic and had now succeeded in opening 2 portals at once. Lien noted that Zhang Yi's abilities had not only grown stronger, but also far more efficient. Once the rats were gone, they continued along the subway. As they ran and checked the subway map, they wondered, were these rats allies of the zombies, or were they hunting them too? Zhang Yi said it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered now was finding the Zombie King. Moments later, they came across a cluster of zombies. This might be the place where they would encounter their target. The zombies wandered the subway without turning around. They didn't even notice Zhang Yi and his team. Uncle Yu stepped forward and noted that the zombies were asleep. Zhang Yi explained that as zombie hosts, they would go into hibernation when not receiving orders. since it took a tremendous amount of energy to control them all. Uncle Yu suggested burning the zombies while they slept. Zhang Yi observed them and noted that they must have some biological characteristic that forced them to rest. Perhaps sound could awaken them. To confirm this, one of the zombies suddenly woke up, followed by others who turned to face Zhang Yi. They immediately charged at the group, forcing Zhang Yi to open a dimensional portal and suck them into another realm. But the zombies showed intelligence. They stopped just in front of the portal, aware of its danger. They screamed to alert more zombies nearby. Zhang Yi quickly equipped Uncle Yu and Chun with flamethrowers and ordered them to burn the zombies. Uncle Yu and Chun began incinerating them. Before long, the creatures retreated, reacting to the threat. While chasing the group, Lien mentioned that the giant rats were still pursuing them. However, she added that it wouldn't matter, because once they found and eliminated the zombie king, the rat problem would be solved too. As they pursued the zombies and hurled fire at them, they suspected that the zombie king might have already fled. Perhaps after sensing their presence. Still, Zhang Yi decided they must push forward. Elsewhere in the subway, a team of 3 was surrounded by mutant rats. A bald mutant with fire-infused punches managed to destroy several of the creatures. Their team leader suggested they keep moving and gather more intel. This was the group sent by Hong Lian to investigate the enemy. They continued on and discovered rows of frozen zombies inside the subway. When the dormant creatures sensed the presence of fresh flesh, they woke, turned toward their prey, and attacked. The bald man, terrified, shouted for everyone to fall back. He tried to stop the zombies with fiery punches and told the others to run as fast as they could. He would hold them off while they escaped. But then, one of them asked about a strange creature that approached unexpectedly. It transformed 2 soldiers into 4 creatures, each half their original size. Now, only the bald man remained, with burning hands and fading hope. Back with the main group, Chun commented that the situation was becoming more dire. They still hadn't found the exact location of the zombie king and were unsure where to go. The area they stood in had multiple exits. But Zhang Yi said he had a feeling, the creature wasn't far. Moments later, deeper in the subway tunnel, a shadow of a massive creature appeared, followed by large, towering zombies. Uncle Yu asked if that was the zombie king. Its drastically different appearance suggested it might be. But then, shockingly, 4 of the creatures appeared at once. Zhang Yi wondered aloud. Are these the zombie kings? Were they manufactured in some factory in China? There's so many of them. Not knowing what to do, Uncle Yu asked Zhang Yi for orders. Zhang Yi responded that they had to fight, but warned everyone to stay close to him and not scatter, as they were few in number compared to the monsters. One of the giant zombies let out a piercing scream, summoning a horde of zombies that charged toward Zhang Yi's group. Uncle Yu and Chun hurled flames to block the creatures coming from both ends of the corridor. Lien, with her expert skills, launched slicing attacks, cutting zombies into pieces. The battle became more chaotic when the giant zombies began hurling regular zombies at the team. Facing flying undead, Zhang Yi used his dimensional portal to absorb them and hold the line. But the giant zombies led the charge, pushing forward with their monstrous strength. Chun roared furiously while launching flames, wondering if the zombie king enjoyed a hot sauna. The giant zombies responded by throwing more of their minions at her. Zhang Yi used his portals to block attacks from both ends of the corridor. They were trapped in the tunnel, but he managed to protect them, for now. Even so, they were still in trouble. The zombie king had to be behind this, but they couldn't kill these monsters just yet. Zhang Yi told everyone to stay calm and observe carefully. He felt the zombie king was near. Then, Uncle Yu activated his powers and charged at one of the giant monsters. Meanwhile, Lien attacked another giant zombie. She struck it in the chest, but the creature didn't fall. Frustrated, Lien wondered how one could kill something that was already dead. Zhang Yi ordered the mutant cat to assist Uncle Yu. He then activated his eye powers and shouted at Lien to move. He was about to strike. Lien quickly dodged the giant zombie. Zhang Yi launched his attack with a powerful scream. Die! A portal opened right in front of the zombie leader, and sucked it into another dimension. With the zombie commanders gone, Chun continued her assault, burning down the remaining undead. Lien could only watch in awe and fear. She was certain that no other human in the city could stop a zombie horde like Zhang Yi. She wanted to praise him, but Zhang Yi brushed it off, calling it a basic operation. He reminded everyone that it was far too early to relax. He pointed to Uncle Yu, who was still fighting a zombie that refused to die. And further down the corridor, more giant zombies were approaching. Zhang Yi grew concerned. He wondered if these creatures really were from a factory, and just how many of them still existed. Chun, once full of fire, now felt fear and confusion. She didn't know what to do anymore. Zhang Yi calmed himself. He said that the force behind all of this was far scarier than his own powers. He ordered Uncle Yu and the mutant cat to retreat. As soon as they retreated, hundreds of zombies surged forward to attack. Zhang Yi opened a dimensional portal and ordered everyone to enter. He was the first to step in, and the others quickly followed. Just as the zombies rushed to chase after them, the portal vanished, causing the undead to slam into the invisible barrier in confusion. They stood still, disoriented, convinced their prey had just been there. The portal reappeared outside the subway. Zhang Yi and his group stepped out safely. He exhaled in relief, admitting that the escape had been nerve-wracking. Lien, filled with excitement, asked if Zhang Yi now had a teleportation ability. Zhang Yi explained it wasn't a new power, but rather a deeper understanding of his versatile portal technique. Chun, still shaken, complained that he should have told them about this sooner. She had nearly died from the fear. This zombie crisis was turning out to be far more complex than they had anticipated. Even now, Zhang Yi didn't know how the situation would end. Uncle Yu asked what their next move should be. Under pressure, Zhang Yi took a moment to calm himself by filling his lungs with smoke, easing some of the tension. Though there was no clear solution yet, he felt a strong urge to resolve the issue quickly. Lien asked what the next step was, as Zhang Yi's words hadn't yet offered any real plan or direction. Zhang Yi explained that dealing with the zombies wasn't the hardest part. Even though they were infected with a virus, their bodies were still vulnerable to cold. If exposed long enough, they would freeze and become immobile. He already had a plan. The subway lines in this region weren't complex, there was only one secondary route. And zombies typically hid in tunnels to avoid the cold. Zhang Yi drew something on the ground and explained. There was a way to control the zombies within the tunnels for a short time. And seal them in permanently. He suspected that seawater might be the key. Lien was stunned, calling the idea brilliant. Because of the tunnel's simple layout, they could flood it quickly with seawater. Uncle Yu listened as Lien explained that by flooding the tunnels, the zombies would be submerged. And if the zombie king was still alive, even he wouldn't survive that. Zhang Yi decided they needed to consult their technical expert before carrying out the plan. They had to return immediately. Back at the Xing headquarters, Hong Lian was disappointed by her team's report. The last images she received showed her elite agents dying at the hands of the zombies underground. Her assistant was alarmed. He hadn't expected there to be so many zombies beneath the city. If they all attacked at once, they would lose. The assistant suggested relocating their base. But Hong Lian refused. Losing the oil refinery would mean losing their main source of resources. In frustration, she slammed her hand on the table. Even if it came at a great cost, they would endure. The assistant asked how they could survive if the zombies launched a full assault. Hong Lian ordered oil to be spread around the refinery. When the zombies came, they would ignite it, burning every single one of them. With a grim expression, the assistant suggested allowing soldiers' families to evacuate first, in case the situation spiraled out of control. Hong Lian agreed and gave the order to carry out the plan. At Zhang Yi's residence, the team returned safely. Zhao Qi'er brought him a cup of hot tea to warm him up and listened attentively to the mission's outcome. Zhang Yi admitted they'd run into some trouble, but assured her that everything would soon be resolved. Not long after, Xian and Karen arrived to ask about the situation, and discovered what he was planning. Zhang Yi asked how they could freeze large volumes of seawater quickly. Karen answered that it was possible using chemicals that accelerated the freezing process. She then asked what the purpose was. Zhang Yi explained that their plan was to freeze the entire subway system beneath the city. While not impossible, it would require careful preparation. He asked Karen to gather the necessary chemicals. There was no need to rush, what mattered was getting it right. Karen, energized by the challenge, promised to prepare everything they needed. It would be extremely useful. Zhang Yi informed them that by that evening, they would begin collecting seawater. A few hours later, the group got back into the vehicle and headed out to their destination. When they arrived at the coastline, Lien was stunned. The sea was completely frozen. Uncle Yu noted how calm the surface looked compared to the thick layers of snow they had seen elsewhere. Zhang Yi declared that they would need to drive across the ice until they reached the location suitable for water collection. 2 hours later, Chun Lei spotted ocean waves ahead. Zhang Yi grew tense. This place was unstable. If anything went wrong, they could sink into the icy waters. Without delay, they exited the vehicle. Zhang Yi opened a dimensional portal, drawing in seawater and storing it in his extra-dimensional space. Uncle Yu, rubbing his hands for warmth, grumbled that if he had known they'd be coming here, he would have brought a fishing rod. Zhang Yi was intrigued by the idea, wondering aloud if they could build a lake at home and raise saltwater fish. Chun then suggested something more ambitious. Building a house by the sea as a place to escape to, in case their base fell into chaos. Zhang Yi agreed that having a backup plan was a good idea, but they needed to stay focused on solving the problem at hand. After collecting the seawater, Zhang Yi ordered everyone to return immediately. However, none of them noticed that the sea seemed to hold dangers and mysteries of its own. A few hours later, they arrived back home. Zhang Yi met with Karen in the laboratory to check on the necessary materials. Karen confirmed that everything was ready and easy to prepare. She showed him several buckets and explained how the chemical worked. It had to be mixed into the seawater to rapidly extract the salt. With reduced salinity, the seawater would freeze more quickly at low temperatures. The solution needed to remain in the water for at least 2 days to fully activate. The next morning, a warning echoed throughout the house. The base was under attack. Zhang Yi woke up to the blaring alarm, indicating that 1% of the base's structural integrity had been compromised. He opened a reinforced window and saw giant rats swarming the property, with dozens of zombies approaching as well. He questioned why rats would attack together with zombies. Or perhaps, they were already working together. The assault began damaging parts of the house, the sounds of destruction growing louder. Zhang Yi realized that although the base's defenses wouldn't be breached quickly, constant pressure could wear them down, like dripping water carving stone. He didn't want the rats to cause further structural damage. This, he concluded, was a test from the Zombie King, meant to gather information. He put on his winter gear and called the others to defend the territory. Outside, the team fought back and managed to eliminate all the giant rats and zombies. Zhang Yi estimated that if rats attacked daily for 2 years, they could eventually break through the base walls. He gathered everyone inside and stated firmly, this problem had to be resolved immediately. Elsewhere, at Choyu Base, after evaluating the risk, Wei Ding Tian decided to abandon the port and turn the tanker ship into their new headquarters. Even though they lost many resources, they would be safer on the water, far from the zombies. Meanwhile, at the Snow Sect, an attack had destroyed most of their servants. But the survivors now saw an opportunity. The meat of the giant rats was surprisingly delicious. They weren't too concerned about the zombie virus. The rat meat would feed them for several days. 2 days later, the plan to freeze the subway and trap the zombies was ready to begin. As expected, the water began to freeze after some time. Once the theory was confirmed, Zhang Yi called the team to carry it out in practice. They headed to the water channels along the subway line to set up explosives. All other exits had already been sealed to prevent zombies, or water, from escaping. Using the explosives, they destroyed and sealed every remaining exit. Chun-Lei asked if the Zombie King might still escape. Zhang Yi replied that it didn't matter. The goal wasn't to kill the zombies inside, but to force them out of the subway. What mattered most was keeping them away from their home. Lian then asked how they would survive if the whole world ended up overrun by zombies. Zhang Yi explained that the world might fall, whether through the virus or an ice apocalypse. And when that happened, zombies would change. The world would rebalance itself eventually. The most important thing was to survive. If protecting their base was the safest course of action, then that's what they would do. They finally arrived at the subway entrance and began flooding the tunnels. The rats ran deeper into the tunnels, trying to avoid the cold water. But nothing could outrun the tide that poured into the underground. Soon, the water reached the zombies buried deep in the tunnels. One by one, they were submerged. Eventually, the entire area was flooded. Afterward, they added Karen's chemical mixture to the water and began the freezing process. Within minutes, everything had frozen solid. Their problem was solved. Zhang Yi suggested they rest. The zombie rats still crawling outside would be handled by him. Everyone acknowledged Zhang Yi's strength. It was strange, but undeniably powerful. Lian asked Zhang Yi what they would do next. Zhang Yi explained that they needed to strike at the zombies and rats that had escaped. Because they remained a major threat, they couldn't afford to be caught off guard. It was better to kill more now than risk being overwhelmed later. Their goal now was to eliminate any remaining zombies they could find and prevent further spread. Zhang Yi and his team began hunting down the surviving zombies that hadn't been frozen. Elsewhere, the giant zombies had emerged. They were followed by a unique zombie, a white-furred, monkey-like creature. This unusual zombie appeared intelligent, commanding the giant zombies like soldiers. Once it received its orders, it led its followers to carry out the mission. At the Yanqing base, Hong Lian was preparing fuel from the refinery to create an unbreakable wall of fire around the headquarters, one that no zombie could pass through. This natural barrier, they hoped, would keep the undead out. Fire on snow was certainly strange, but who knew what it might melt away? Meanwhile, at the Qingfu base located underground, their leader was growing anxious. The battles against the zombies had been exhausting. They decided to retreat into the underground shelter, leaving the surface-level base for the zombies to overrun. They no longer needed the equipment above, and no one knew how to use it anyway. Back at Zhang Yi's base, Xin arrived with an important email she had just received. Zhang Yi was surprised. He hadn't expected this. The message was more shocking than a typical email. It revealed that a special team had arrived in the southern part of Tianhai City and invited them to a meeting point at 2:30 p.m. The guest list included Xing Tian from Qingfu Shelter, Xiao Honglian from Yanqing, and Wei Dinghai from Chouyu, Yuan Kongya, the leader of the Snow Temple, and Zhang Yi, known for being surrounded by several beautiful women. Thank you for following this storyline. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this content so you won't miss updates on other exciting comic storylines. Zhang Yi realized that they came from the military district and powerful forces from other cities. However, he suspected this could be a trap. Xin believed the message came from the southern region. Although she didn't know the exact reason they had come to Tianhai, Zhang Yi was concerned that it could mean their shelter was no longer completely safe. Xin clarified that the issue wasn't with their internal network, as their servers were isolated from the internet. Any breach could only be done physically. Zhang Yi guessed their arrival might be related to the zombie attacks. Xin agreed. Zhang Yi decided to accept the invitation. Opposing the upper echelons of the country would be unwise. He was confident it wasn't a trap, but for safety, he would bring all the strong members of his group. He gathered everyone in the shelter to discuss the situation. Chun was worried about external powers entering the city. Zhang Yi reassured him that it was not a risk. Tianhai was insignificant compared to the southern region. What they had here wouldn't attract much attention. However, Chun was still worried that his comfortable life might be threatened. Uncle Yu suggested they accept the invitation, as they didn't want Tianhai to be destroyed by zombie attacks. Lian agreed. If everyone agreed, they would attend the meeting. Meanwhile, Xin would monitor everything through the internet to learn more about the guests. On the appointed day, a vehicle sped across the snow. When it stopped, a group of people stepped out, surprised by the towering walls of ice. One of them complained about how messy the place was. They couldn't even enter the building. A young man with blonde hair said it was not a problem. He would create an entrance himself. To prove his abilities, he demonstrated extraordinary power, managing to cross a mountain of snow. With that ability, they gained access to the building. Not long after, a red truck belonging to Hong Lian arrived. Seeing only one other vehicle, she concluded they hadn't sent many people. There were no instructions, just a hole in the snow. Using her intelligence, she analyzed the hole and determined it wasn't created by any tool, but rather the result of a mutant among them. At the end of the tunnel, a man asked if they were the representatives from the invited military bases. Xiao Honglian introduced herself as the leader of the Yanqing base and confirmed she was responding to the invitation. The man recognized her as the former head of Tianhai's criminal police brigade and welcomed her. However, he warned that only she could enter. Her troops would have to wait outside. Honglian accepted the arrangement and agreed to enter. Her soldiers were worried and asked if it was truly safe, afraid it might be a trap. Xiao Honglian confidently said, even if it was a trap, no one could stop her if she wanted to leave. Sometime later, another base leader approached the location. Wei Dinghai and his right-hand man were stopped because only leaders were allowed inside. His assistant was displeased with the treatment and questioned if something was being hidden. He was told that the instructions were clear, the meeting was for leaders only. If he wasn't the leader, he couldn't enter. Despite his frustration, Wei Dingtian had no choice but to accept the arrangement. He asked his assistant to wait outside and warned him that the blonde-haired man was a powerful mutant. He told him to avoid conflict. Meanwhile, soldiers from other bases laughed at the man who thought he was important but still couldn't enter. The next to arrive was Zhang Yi, as always holding a protective device in his hand. He recognized all his former enemies from a few weeks ago. When the soldiers recognized him, they felt a surge of anger toward the man who had nearly destroyed them. But they couldn't do anything as Zhang Yi walked calmly past them. Before he even approached the entrance, a man shouted, identifying him as Zhang Yi and declaring that only he could go in. Zhang Yi didn't mind. He had come with only a few people, who would wait outside. Unlike the others, Zhang Yi remained calm and simply asked where the meeting room was. The man replied that it was on the 5th floor, to the left, in the 3rd meeting room. Soon after, Zhang Yi found the designated room. Aside from 2 familiar faces, the others were strangers to him. He wondered silently why one of them was wearing sunglasses indoors. Was the man blind? As he took a seat, he introduced himself and apologized for not greeting them earlier. The man with sunglasses introduced himself as Bian Junwu, the captain of the investigation team sent from the southern region of Jiangnan district to investigate the current zombie situation. Naturally, Zhang Yi said he was pleased to meet him. The next person to arrive was an old friend of Zhang Yi from school. He quickly greeted him and asked how he had been. Zhang Yi replied that he had been busy fighting zombies, and it hadn't been easy. He was completely exhausted. Everyone felt a sense of relief, knowing that even Zhang Yi struggled against the zombies. It showed that he was not invincible. Even though they had also suffered, the fact that Zhang Yi was in the same situation gave them hope. At first, Zhang Yi had no intention of revealing that he had already cleared out the zombies in his area. While they waited, the last person to arrive was Zhang Yi, the right-hand man of the leader of the Snow Sect. Once everyone was present, the meeting began. The head of the Jiangnan investigation team, Captain Junwoo, confirmed that the zombie crisis had spread across the Tianhai area. As the most influential factions, they were responsible for resolving this issue. He then asked if they truly understood the real meaning behind establishing shelters in the city. He emphasized that those present controlled most of the official shelters and had taken control of all resources. Now, they were asked to think seriously. Benefiting from the resources was one thing. But refusing to take responsibility for regional stability was a sign of incompetence. Wei Dinghai replied that he understood, but added that they were already trying to maintain stability in their regions. The problem was the sheer number of zombies and the chaos everywhere. With their limited resources, they couldn't resolve the crisis. Finally, Wei Dinghai pointed out that Tianhai lacked the powerful weapons and elite forces that the southern region had. Upon hearing this, the southern representative laughed briefly, then turned serious again and said, since they were incapable of handling the crisis, from now on, they would have to obey his orders unconditionally. These words shocked everyone in the room. Zhang Yi immediately thought that unconditional obedience was impossible. Zhang Yixian thought the same. Even Xing Tian commented that, while the southern region was stronger, they were just a few individuals. Underestimating everyone else was a mistake. Xiao Honglian said they might agree, if the southern region was willing to send a large number of reinforcements. Junwoo asked whether they all believed he wasn't qualified to lead. The man in sunglasses, Junwoo, stressed that the problem of this city was not theirs alone. Zombies couldn't be eliminated completely, and they had begun spreading to neighboring cities, affecting surrounding areas. He slammed the table and reminded everyone that the city of Tianhai did not belong to them. The southern region was the nation's command center. And as the strongest force in the region, they were responsible for Tianhai. He was present as the representative of the southern region. Zhang Yi listened carefully. Junwoo continued, stating that if they refused his orders, the consequences would not be pleasant. Honglian asked if they planned to send troops to destroy them if they refused. She declared they were not afraid of such threats. Wei Dinghai seemed to agree with Honglian. Junwoo then questioned whether Honglian thought the situation wasn't serious. He explained that they had arrived with two mandates. First, to cooperate with local authorities in handling the zombie crisis and prevent the spread to other cities. Second, if the situation became uncontrollable, they would eliminate the zombies by force, even if it caused massive destruction. These words startled Zhang Yi. He realized that if things worsened, their own base might be in danger. Perhaps now was the time to leave this city, and these people, behind. Junwoo emphasized that if they understood the seriousness of the situation, all armed groups in the city must follow orders without question. Even though they were all affected, no one responded immediately. Zhang Yi was the first to express his stance. He declared his willingness to support the southern region's orders. He explained that they had come because the local forces were not capable of handling the zombie and rat crisis on their own. Therefore, accepting help was a logical choice, though not the only one. He added that if each leader could resolve the zombie problems in their own region, they could do so without assistance. Arrogant as always, Honglian doubted that claim, questioning how a small group of people could handle such a large number of zombies and filthy rats. Wei Dinghai agreed with Xiao Honglian, also doubting Zhang Yi's claim. He felt that Zhang Yi was trying to act like a hero, without realizing that the mission proposed was impossible. However, Zhang Yi challenged them to come inspect his territory if they didn't believe him. Because all the zombies had already been eliminated. This offended everyone, as Zhang Yi was indirectly claiming that they had failed. Honglian stood up and slammed the table, accusing Zhang Yi of lying. Zhang Yi calmly challenged them again. If they had doubts, they were free to check. His confidence was enough to convince the southern region's leader, who then asked how Zhang Yi had managed to achieve it. With composure, Zhang Yi explained that zombies tend to gather in areas with large populations. He asked, where were the population centers in this city? Slowly, people began to understand what he meant. Zhang Yi continued by saying that his territory had a small population and was located in a remote area. So naturally, the zombies weren't as interested. Even so, the last battle had been extremely fierce. But he and his group had emerged victorious. He discovered that among the zombies, there was a zombie king leading them, creating sub-commanders to control the others. Zhang Yi eliminated all of them. All the leaders in his region. Afterward, Zhang Yi and his group entered the underground tunnels. To eliminate the threat with the help of weapons from the Shirshan base under their control, Zhang Yi revealed that his region and the surrounding areas were now free of zombies. He went on to challenge Junwoo, stating that if the local forces were capable of maintaining regional stability, then the leaders should remain independent without interference from the southern region. However, he also expressed his willingness to cooperate if they needed assistance, and that they could request help at any time. Zhang Yi added that his group was the smallest among them, so they wouldn't be of much help anyway. After hearing this, Junwoo acknowledged that they had done an outstanding job. This proved that Zhang Yi's team had the necessary skills, and the southern region would likely need their strength. With a respectful tone, Junwoo accepted Zhang Yi's independence and thanked him. He then instructed the others to cooperate unconditionally with his forces, share information, and put aside past disputes. Zhang Yixian was the first to agree, ready to discuss how to overcome the zombie crisis. However, during the meeting, a shout could be heard from outside. Wei's subordinates were arguing with strangers, challenging them to a fight. Wei Dinghai recognized the voice as his right-hand man and wondered what was happening outside. Noticing the disturbance, Junwoo asked what was going on. A friend of Zhang Yi explained that it was their soldiers having a disagreement. Junwoo suggested they settle such minor issues quickly, as there were bigger problems to deal with. Outside, the tension grew more intense. Despite the cold air, one of Junwoo's men asked why they were so nervous. The blonde-haired young man replied that they wouldn't back down from a challenge. His friend added that he hated being underestimated, especially by rural people from a small city. Wei's right-hand man thought they were arrogant. Even if they came from the south, that didn't make them the strongest. Junwoo's men were annoyed and eager to prove their strength. One of them enhanced his body using a body-strengthening ability. According to Uncle Yu, the young man from the southern region would be in trouble. Because Chen's power was unique, and he was a master of close combat. However, Lien believed the opponent was also skilled, judging by his breathing and movements. After the commentators gave their opinions, the fight began. Chen said he would place his finger somewhere his opponent wouldn't like. Hearing that, the opponent quickly advanced and kicked from behind. But what happened next was unexpected. Chen's body could stretch, and the kick was ineffective. He wrapped himself around his opponent and said that no matter how strong someone was, once he wrapped around them, there was no escape. Chen gave his opponent a choice: surrender and start cooperating. Instead of surrendering, Junwoo's subordinate turned his hand into a blade and slashed Chen's body. Although it could be cut, it wasn't injured. If his opponent refused to give up, his bones would eventually break. Uncle Yu stated the outcome was already clear, the victory was decided. However, to everyone's shock, the opponent suddenly faced Chen and spat a blade directly into Chen's left eye. Chen screamed in pain. The attack was deep. The opponent thought Chen's body was rubber. But apparently, his face was not, and that was disappointing. Uncle Yu was shocked by the sight. He suspected that Chen's eye wasn't made of rubber. If it was, Chen would now be blind. The victory was obvious. Junwoo's subordinate advised Chen to seek immediate medical attention so the wound wouldn't become fatal. Chen, defeated, returned to stop the bleeding. Now, he had to wear an eye patch. Since no one else challenged him, he hoped everyone would now understand their position. Back in the meeting room, Junwoo received information from the base commander and stated that it was useful. Zhang Yi also found the information valuable to better understand what others knew about the zombies. In his mind, he already knew the next step. Junwoo summarized their findings. Zombies attack crowded places to increase their numbers. In addition, the rat population and zombies exist in a symbiotic relationship. If zombies were wiped out, the rats would also disappear. Another important detail was that zombie groups displayed specific movement patterns, suggesting the presence of a leader. Zhang Yi called it the Zombie King, who controlled them all. However, Junwoo clarified that it was just a nickname, and that the individual was likely a mutant with strange abilities. Junwoo concluded that the only solution was to eliminate this Zombie King. He requested large forces to relocate most of the population, and avoid direct confrontation with the zombies to prevent further growth in their numbers. Zhang Yixian asked what he should do, as he didn't have an underground base for protection. He felt frustrated because shelters had been provided for other groups, while the Snow sect was left vulnerable. Junwoo explained that the sect had many members, and should be capable of protecting themselves. With so many members, they should also have enough combat strength. This statement angered Zhang Yixian, and he wanted to take drastic action. Junwoo slammed the table, emphasizing that they could only plan based on current conditions. Zhang Yi asked whether his group was expected to be sacrificed. If the other groups were hiding, the Snow Sect would become the main target of the zombies. Zhang Yi listened calmly, seemingly enjoying the situation. The other base leaders also remained calm and didn't seem to care about the Snow Sect's suffering. Hong Lian said that while the Snow Sect had many people, they lacked skill and must now take responsibility for the ones without strength. Junwoo admitted that they couldn't hide those people, but they could still play other roles. Zhang Yi asked Junwoo what his plan was to resolve this issue. In truth, Junwoo didn't have an answer yet, but he promised to give one by the next day. He then ended the meeting and ordered the formation of a response team, ready to act the moment they received instructions. Everyone began to leave the meeting room. However, Junwoo signaled for Zhang Yi to stay behind. Junwoo wanted to speak privately with him and visit Zhang Yi's shelter. Zhang Yi replied that his place was nothing more than a reinforced house, not a real base, and visiting would be a waste of time. His refusal made Junwoo wonder if Zhang Yi was trying to prevent him from going there. Zhang Yi explained that wasn't the case. Junwoo acknowledged that his request might be surprising, given they had only just met, but asked Zhang Yi to consider that they were now allies without hostility. Junwoo added that there was no need to be defensive with him. He then stepped closer and quietly said that what he wanted to discuss was a way to eliminate the zombie horde, and that he possessed critical information Zhang Yi didn't know yet. After some insistence, Zhang Yi finally agreed to let Junwoo visit his shelter. The two of them then left the meeting building. Wei Dinghai was shocked to see his right-hand man with a bandage over his eye and head. He asked what had happened. Chen said it was nothing, just a small accident with some friends from the southern team. Junwoo had ordered his troops not to get involved in conflicts, but it seemed that order hadn't been followed. The blonde-haired young man explained that they felt disrespected, so they decided to fight to understand each other's strength. Junwoo said that wasn't an ideal solution and told them not to repeat it. Suddenly, thousands of zombies approached the meeting area to attack. The guards shouted that the number of zombies was overwhelming, and they were rapidly closing in. Tian, though not known for his intelligence, concluded that the earlier commotion had drawn the zombies' attention. With the zombies so close, the only option was to defeat them all. Wei Dinghai shouted that they had to kill every last one of them, because the information they had could fall into enemy hands. Everyone prepared to fight, but Junwoo calmly took command. He removed his sunglasses to reveal his power. Junwoo's eyes began to glow, though his expression remained strange. He then said one word: Nirvana. Junwoo shone like a supernova, blasting the entire surrounding area. Everyone was stunned by the blinding light, while his allies, already used to it, remained unfazed. With such a powerful and mysterious attack, the zombies were obliterated. Zhang Yi could barely see what was happening. Even the corpses couldn't escape destruction. The top base leaders, some of the strongest people there, couldn't hide their fear of Junwoo's power. Wei Dinghai pointed toward the blast site and shouted, asking everyone to look. He wasn't sure if he was hallucinating or seeing reality. With just one attack, the entire zombie force had been wiped out. Zhang Yi began to wonder who this man really was, and just how powerful he could be. Junwoo commented that a zombie assault like this should have been troublesome, but the captain had wiped them out effortlessly. One of his comrades said their leader had intentionally shown his strength, so that the base leaders would recognize the power of the Southern Investigation Team. Despite the strength of the attack, there seemed to be a cost, and Zhang Yi had surely noticed it. One man approached Junwoo to tell him not to push himself too far. Though Junwoo appeared calm, Zhang Yi suspected he might be suffering from an illness, perhaps even a terminal one, linked to his mutant powers. Once the brief battle ended, Junwoo ordered his soldiers to return and get ready. They needed to be prepared to cooperate when called. Zhang Yi approached Junwoo and said he looked slightly tired. He offered to have him examined, saying there were doctors at his place. Junwoo replied that there was no need to worry. It was just a habit, and all he needed was rest. Hearing that, Zhang Yi became even more convinced of his earlier suspicion. He then formally invited Junwoo to visit his shelter. On the way to Zhang Yi's base, inside the vehicle, the blonde-haired young man, whose name was revealed to be Wu Di, wondered aloud why his captain treated Zhang Yi so well. Could he be an illegitimate child, lost years ago? Junwoo replied that Zhang Yi was incredibly powerful, unmatched by the other group leaders. He referred to him as an exceptional seed. One of Junwoo's soldiers asked how he could be so sure that Zhang Yi was strong, especially since he had never seen him fight. Junwoo explained that he relied on his intuition and experience. He said that Zhang Yi's group was once one of the 4 great powers in the city, which meant their mutants were incredibly strong. Without hesitation, Junwoo claimed that Zhang Yi was the most competent and powerful. even managing to handle the zombie threat around his base. Everyone agreed and felt challenged by the idea of facing him. Junwoo warned them not to underestimate Zhang Yi, as he was far stronger than they imagined. This made Wu Di annoyed, and he asked what kind of abilities Zhang Yi possessed. Junwoo explained that Zhang Yi had spatial abilities, including teleportation. Even in the southern region, such a power was extremely rare and held immense strategic value. The deputy captain, Bai Li, now understood why their leader was treating Zhang Yi so favorably. It seemed Junwoo wanted to recruit Zhang Yi into their team. Junwoo stated that everything would depend on Zhang Yi's decision, but he would do whatever it took to invite him to join. Meanwhile, inside Zhang Yi's vehicle, the conversation was different. Zhang Yi expressed that these people were far stronger than he had originally imagined. Their power couldn't be compared to what they had faced before. Even the arrogant villains acknowledged that these people deserved respect, because they were simply stronger. After some time, they arrived at Zhang Yi's reinforced residence. Junwoo was surprised, expecting the place to be underground, not a grand house like this. Everyone agreed the house was extremely luxurious. A girl named Xiaoyu, also a member of Junwoo's team, explained that the house had once belonged to one of the richest people in China. So, of course, it looked extravagant. Zhang Yi and Yuchiara asked about the guests' identities. Zhang Yi explained that they were a government investigation team sent from Jiangnan. He then asked Yuchiara to prepare drinks for the guests. Zhang Yi offered them a wide range of beverages, from coffee to wine, which surprised Wu Di, realizing how abundant Zhang Yi's resources were. However, Captain Junwoo only requested a glass of warm water. After that, he asked to speak privately with Zhang Yi. They moved to a private meeting room. Without any small talk, Junwoo directly asked how Zhang Yi had dealt with the zombie issue. He warned Zhang Yi that while his lies might fool others, they wouldn't work on him. He mentioned that the southern region had already gathered extensive information on Zhang Yi, instantly making the atmosphere tense. Zhang Yi's expression shifted slightly. He realized it was difficult to deceive someone who carried themselves with such authority. He admitted he had been cautious before. Junwoo said he understood. But Zhang Yi finally decided to reveal the truth. Junwoo asked again why Zhang Yi had lied, allowing others to die because of his past grudges. He said that kind of action was wrong, and questioned whether Zhang Yi planned to become the ruler of the city. Zhang Yi admitted that he was a simple man, and everything he had done was rooted in revenge. As Junwoo had already suspected, others believed the same. His motivation was simple. The more others lost their territories and power, the stronger and safer he became. Besides, the city's train system was vast, making it impossible to replicate this strategy elsewhere. His ultimate goal was to eliminate the Zombie King, not his army. Although he hadn't met the Zombie King yet, he believed they were getting close. The zombies had been attacking all 5 major powers in Tianhai City. Zhang Yi was convinced there was a greater plan behind it all. Junwoo finally admitted that he thought Zhang Yi was incredibly intelligent, and labeled him a Delta-level mutant. Zhang Yi was confused and asked what Delta meant. Junwoo replied that he would explain, as it was no longer a secret. Junwoo then asked about Zhang Yi's understanding of mutants. Zhang Yi explained that gamma rays had caused massive destruction, the ice apocalypse, and the emergence of mutants. But Junwoo disagreed. He said that human mutation had existed since ancient times, that evolution had been ongoing since prehistoric humans, and even dinosaurs evolved into birds. Junwoo pointed out that what Zhang Yi said wasn't entirely scientific. He referenced old reports about people who trained and achieved extraordinary abilities, including legends of humans with 3 arms. He firmly believed that mutants had existed since ancient times, and that external conditions simply accelerated their emergence. Research on human mutation had been ongoing for a long time, and different powers had already been classified. Curious, Zhang Yi asked about those classifications. Junwoo explained that at the top of the pyramid was level 5, followed by Delta, Alpha, Gamma, Sigma, and Red Pill. He gave a brief summary. Alpha was level 1, relatively weak and unable to evolve. Level 2, Beta, was stronger than Alpha, but still incapable of evolving. Level 3, Gamma, possessed immense strength, strong enough to defeat hundreds of people. Zhang Yi thought of his uncle and Chun, whom he believed were Gamma Red Pill mutants. Junwoo continued, saying that level 4, Delta, was the strongest. Level Delta possessed a unique ability to absorb energy from other mutants and evolve. Zhang Yi was shocked. He wondered how he and Lien could absorb powers, while his uncle and Chun could not. Junwoo added that although Delta-level mutants might be weaker at the beginning, their ability to evolve placed them at the top. Junwoo concluded that Zhang Yi and the other top leaders were likely Delta-level mutants. Zhang Yi began to reflect on Delta level. Those who had reached level 4 and were considered extraordinary among living beings. He grew curious about the Epsilon level. The so-called peak of power. Junwoo explained that Epsilon was level 5. The strongest kind of mutant, capable of dominating the world. They could absorb energy from other races. And had their own unique energy signature. Zhang Yi asked if Junwoo was an Epsilon-level mutant. Junwoo replied that he was only Delta. Zhang Yi realized that if Junwoo was already this powerful as a Delta, then Epsilon must be far beyond his imagination. He asked whether his understanding of level 5 was incorrect. Junwoo clarified that power levels did not only refer to combat strength, but also to the capacity of one's abilities. Some special abilities were not meant for battle. They served other purposes. If those abilities were suppressed, or the environment was unfavorable, even an Epsilon-level mutant could die before ever unlocking their true power. Zhang Yi understood that abilities were tied to one's capacity to grow them. He asked whether the assessment of him being level 4 was accurate. If they were both at Delta level, Zhang Yi felt Junwoo was still stronger. Junwoo explained that his assessment was based on experience. However, he admitted that a more professional evaluation would be more accurate. Even so, he believed his judgment was correct. Zhang Yi then asked if there were any known level 5 individuals. Junwoo replied that so far, none had truly reached that level, though there was someone in the Xinjiang region who claimed to be level 5. Junwoo emphasized the importance of powerful mutants, taking responsibility and maintaining order, because many others sought only to create chaos. He said the power of an Epsilon-level mutant was beyond logic. It was rumored that if such a person looked at someone, even from thousands of kilometers away, that person could die with a single thought. Junwoo called such a being a true monster. The information made Zhang Yi deeply uneasy. Someone with that kind of power could eliminate him without warning, especially when Junwoo stressed that such a person's power was absolute. Junwoo even speculated that there might be a higher level, level 6? Omega. A legendary entity with strength that surpassed reality itself. Like Epsilon, Omega was only theoretical. A being with limitless potential. Junwoo explained that once someone reached this level, they would become a god, but at a very steep cost. At that moment, Captain Junwoo coughed. Zhang Yi looked concerned and offered to have Yu Qier examine him. But Junwoo declined. He explained that just a few days earlier, he had been diagnosed with a terminal illness, one that had no cure. He planned to spend the rest of his life helping the southern region. Junwoo removed his glasses and explained that his life was nearing its end. The power he wielded had come at a cost. His eyesight and health. That was why he was only classified as a Delta-level mutant. His weakness had turned him into a limited weapon. Zhang Yi felt a strange sense of satisfaction, knowing that although Junwoo had great power, he too was burdened with immense misfortune. Zhang Yi hadn't expected Junwoo to be so open about his condition. Junwoo explained that working together with Zhang Yi was important for the future of their regions. They needed to understand each other's strengths. He now hoped that Zhang Yi understood that his own strength had limits, and overusing it would only bring death faster. At that point, Junwoo was nearly blind, able to see only red light. He then asked Zhang Yi if he was interested in going to the southern region. Zhang Yi had the potential to reach level 5, but Zhang Yi made it clear that he had no grand ambitions. He only wanted to live peacefully, with his wives in a safe place. Junwoo urged him not to rush the decision. He explained that the southern region offered a much better environment than Tianhai. There, trade had resumed, and nightlife was safe thanks to mutants, who ensured fairness and security. There were also comfortable apartments for living. Zhang Yi was then asked what benefits he would choose. He insisted on staying in his shelter and living a quiet life. He doubted that the extra safety of the south would make much difference. Junwoo warned that the area was not completely safe. Chaos could break out at any moment. He questioned whether Zhang Yi was truly prepared to face such powerful enemies. Though anxious, Zhang Yi stood firm in his decision to stay and face whatever came. After everything had been discussed, Junwoo said he would contact him at the right time. Before they parted ways, Zhang Yi invited them to dinner. But Junwoo declined, saying they had other matters to attend to, and already had food. He called out to the others, saying they had rested long enough. It was time to go. They thanked the women who had welcomed them, and one arrogant young man challenged Zhang Yi to train with him the next time they met. Even though Junwoo gave him a warning, the young man insisted on his challenge. They left the place. Yu Qier said their murderous aura made her feel uneasy. Even Yang Mi admitted They were unlike anyone they had met before. Zhang Yi told the two women that if these people became enemies, they would be extremely dangerous. They had come here to deal with the zombie crisis. After a full day of testing, Xiaoyu completed her analysis. It turned out that the creature was not a monkey or a primate, but rather a human, or someone who used to be human. Its body contained a large concentration of the zombie virus, which allowed it to infect other creatures and turn them into zombies. The virus core was connected to other zombies, enabling it to control them. The zombie king possessed intelligence, allowing it to evolve. This was evident from how the zombie attacks constantly adapted their methods. Bai Li suspected that the white monkey thought like a human. One of the team members concluded that they simply needed to eliminate all the white monkeys in Tianhai City to end the zombie crisis. Xiaoyu agreed that, in theory, this was true. However, Junwoo felt something was off. If there were many zombie kings, then that monkey wasn't the true king after all. Xiaoyu admitted that discovering the real one was important, but tracking the original source of the outbreak was extremely difficult. There was not enough evidence to investigate it yet. All they could do was speculate based on observed behavior. Bai Li felt relieved. At least now they had a clear goal. Once they eliminated all the white monkeys, the zombie outbreak would end. Bai Li thought this mission wasn't too difficult. The real issue was just the overwhelming number of enemies. Wu Di wondered how long it would take to eliminate all the zombies. He had a plan to gather every zombie in one place and destroy them all at once with his power. Bai Li said that if it were really that easy, the Central Command wouldn't have needed to send them to Tianhai. However, Junwoo thought it was a good idea, which made Wu Di happy. His idea had been acknowledged by the captain. Bai Li then questioned how they would gather all the zombies. They were scattered across various locations. Even if they could gather them, their numbers would be overwhelming, and the team might be unable to handle them all. Junwoo suspected there was a mastermind behind the zombie attacks. They only seemed to target military bases with large human populations. If they gathered everyone from all the bases into one location, that might attract the zombies to attack. And at that moment, they could eliminate all the zombie kings in one blow. With this, Junwoo also wanted to test his theory and throw off the enemy's expectations. He explained that the zombie outbreak in Tianhai was still relatively new. It had only spread to neighboring areas in small numbers. The majority of the zombies were still concentrated in Tianhai City. Xiaoyu commented that this phenomenon didn't follow normal logic. If zombies carried the virus in their bodies, they should act on biological instinct and spread outward into more distant areas. Junwoo felt there was something odd about it. The population in Tianhai City shouldn't be enough to sustain the zombies. Yet, the zombies remained there, and even targeted the military bases. Junwoo suspected that the zombie kings might have been artificially created by someone or a group secretly operating in Tianhai. If that turned out to be true, then this issue would fall squarely under the responsibility of the investigation team to eliminate the threat. Meanwhile, at the Yanqing base, the zombies that had previously fled suddenly stopped and froze. The soldiers were confused. Xiao Honglian didn't know the cause either, but she didn't waste the opportunity. She immediately ordered her troops to wipe out the remaining zombies. Her assistant suspected this might be related to the investigation team from Jiangnan district. Honglian admitted the possibility, but it only made her more anxious. If they truly had managed to resolve the zombie outbreak in just one day, then their power was truly terrifying. Meanwhile, in the Snow Sect, Li Jian and his wife were searching for their son, Kai Lei. After the zombies retreated, they were unable to find him. Up ahead, the couple suddenly panicked. Their child lay on the ground, his body soaked in blood. Sitting beside him was the sect leader, holding a knife in his hand. The scene clearly indicated that something precious had been taken from Kai Lei. In a panic, Li Jian ran forward to stop them. But the sect leader's power repelled him, throwing him to the ground beside his wife. Yuan Kongye appeared upset by what Li Jian had just done. Zhang Yi approached the sect leader, trying to calm him down, as he seemed to have lost control. Once calm, Yuan Kongye insisted that sinful acts could not be forgiven, and that he was simply helping to purify them. Zhang Yi nodded and said he understood. He then escorted the sect leader away. Li Jian quickly rushed to his son. When Li Jian and his wife checked on their child's condition, they noticed a young girl sitting quietly in the corner of the building. The girl's name was Bei Bei. She had seemed close to Kai Lei, but now, she was trembling with fear. Li Jian's wife approached her to ask what had happened. The girl explained that they had almost died during the zombie attack. But luckily, the zombies suddenly turned away. At that moment, Kai Lei kissed her, and the sect leader saw it and acted immediately. The girl held back tears, trying to make sense of it all. She didn't understand why the sect leader reacted that way. Meanwhile, Yuan Kongye and Zhang Yixian were inside a private room. Yuan Kongye began to question himself. Had he done something wrong? He believed he was only trying to help others walk the righteous path. Zhang Yixian agreed, saying the real issue lay with the boy. In the apocalypse, love had no place. Romantic relationships between men and women that were not pure had to be forbidden. Yuan Kongye lamented that people didn't understand what he was trying to achieve. If all his followers were like Zhang Yixian, the world would be free from impurity. Zhang Yixian obediently replied that the world would soon become exactly as Kongye desired. Kongye knew the boy had influenced Lin Jian, and worried that Lin Jian was suppressing his emotions. But Zhang Yixian reassured him. Lin Jian would understand the true intentions behind Kongye's actions. Elsewhere, Kai Lei, now conscious, was crying out in despair, while his mother tried to calm him down. Outside, Lin Jian was speaking with Zhang Yixian. Zhang Yixian reminded Lin Jian to stay focused on his duties. He then asked about Kai Lei's condition. Lin Jian said his son's physical wounds had healed, but the psychological damage would never go away. He told Zhang Yixian that the sect leader had taken away his son's masculinity and shattered his confidence. These words angered Zhang Yixian. He shouted that romantic love only brought chaos and should not exist. If men and women did not entrust their future to the sect, they would become the cause of all problems. Zhang Yixian emphasized that this principle applied not only to Lin Jian's son, but to everyone. All must follow the same path. Lin Jian said that he understood the message, but could not accept such a distorted logic. He began to question the very existence of the Snow sect, which could not even guarantee its followers a future. If people were forbidden from having children, humanity would simply go extinct. Inside a vehicle, Jun Woo was watching the movement of zombies on a map. He planned to make the Snow sect's base a gathering point. He explained that the sect had many followers, and was located at the center of the map, making it a strategic location. Jun Woo ordered his subordinates to contact all remaining bases and ask them to gather at the Snow sect. Soon, base commanders received the orders to assemble at the Snow sect. At the sect, Zhang Yixian informed Yuan Kongye that the investigation team wanted everyone to gather at their headquarters. It appeared they were preparing for a massive zombie horde attack. Kongye knew this was not good news. He regretted that many people would die, and that it would pose a threat to them as well. Zhang Yixian said he would begin making preparations immediately. Kongye trusted him to handle everything. Yuan Kongye declared that they no longer needed to worry. With the gods on their side, the followers of the Snow Temple would be blessed. Meanwhile, in the living room, Zhang Yi received the message and questioned why they had to gather at the Snow sect, considering the place had already fallen. But he soon realized that this wasn't just about gathering. It was about a final battle against the zombies. Zhang Yi suspected Jun Woo's team had discovered something important, but he couldn't understand what it was. Just then, Sin arrived and asked what was troubling Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi called her over and shared the information with her. Sin wanted to know more about the Snow sect. Zhang Yi explained that the sect was made up of people who had suffered deeply. They lacked power and resources, yet they had many followers. Sin quickly pointed out that this was the sect's strength. She stated that they were gathering there because it had the largest population in Tianhai City. If every unit from all bases gathered there, it meant the Jiangnan team was planning to eliminate all the zombies in one single battle. Zhang Yi was shocked. He began to realize that Jun Woo's team might actually have a way to end the outbreak. Sin didn't deny it. That group was indeed powerful. She pointed out that they had access to a much larger information network, and with all that data, they had likely discovered the root of the problem. Zhang Yi admitted that their previous mission had failed. Due to a lack of knowledge, they had only speculated and ended up in mysterious danger. Zhang Yi then gathered everyone and shared the newly acquired information. He told them this would be a massive battle, an alliance of humans against the zombies. Zhang Yi was amazed that Jun Woo's team had moved so quickly. In just one day, they already had a plan in motion. Still, Zhang Yi emphasized that his goal remained unchanged: to protect everyone in his group. He reminded them that their lives must always come first. Everyone nodded in agreement. Euchre appeared anxious about the battle Zhang Yi would face. They could only wait at home, filled with worry. Zhang Yi explained that those not involved in the fight had to stay behind. They wouldn't be able to protect everyone once the fighting started. But Euchre insisted that medical personnel were crucial, and that she could help treat the injured. Zhang Yi reminded her that she didn't have the ability to protect herself, which could cause complications later. Euchre knew his words were true, but she still insisted on helping. She believed this battle would be different from the others. The scale would be much larger. And Zhang Yi would definitely need logistical support. She was also sure that other powerful groups would bring their own logistics teams. Uncle Yu agreed. Euchre's argument made sense. Logistics, especially medical support, were vital in a prolonged war. After thinking it over, Zhang Yi finally allowed Euchre to join them. Still, she had to stay at the very back of the formation, and could only step forward to treat the wounded when it was safe. Euchre was thrilled and thanked Zhang Yi. She promised to express her gratitude personally later. Karen took the opportunity to join in, claiming her shooting accuracy had improved recently. But Zhang Yi reminded her that guns were still ineffective against zombies. He instructed everyone, except Euchre, to remain in the shelter. Sometime later, they began preparing to move to the designated location. Zhang Yi handed a weapon to Euchre for self-defense. Just in case. It was a vital tool, especially if they had to face human threats as well. The Jiangnan investigation team arrived at the Snow Sect, and Zhang Yixian welcomed them. Zhang Yixian admitted he didn't understand Junwu's plan to gather all the major forces at their headquarters. If they had been informed earlier, they could have prepared. Wu Di firmly stated that they only needed to be ready to follow orders and didn't need to know more than that. His words irritated the Snow Sect followers. However, as usual, Wu Di challenged them to oppose him if they disagreed with what he said. One of the Snow Sect soldiers reminded Wu Di not to be arrogant. Although the Jiangnan team was strong, the Snow Sect wasn't easily bullied. Zhang Yixian ordered his followers to stay quiet. He hoped Captain Junwu would understand and explain that the Snow Sect had recently suffered great losses, which made his followers emotional. With a single glance, Captain Junwu signaled Wu Di to stop, and then explained that they must wait for the arrival of the other leaders to discuss the plan. Zhang Yixian suggested they wait inside until everyone arrived. Junwu asked about the number of casualties. Zhang Yixian estimated that around 3,000 to 4,000 of their followers had died. That number piqued Junwu's curiosity, not because of the death toll, but because he wondered how they were feeding so many people. Zhang Yixian explained that they scavenged food and survival supplies from supermarkets and shopping centers buried under the snow around their headquarters. With a cold demeanor, Junwu asked if that was the only way they survived. The question created an awkward silence, eventually broken by Wu Di. He stated that with so many corpses, they must have enough food for a long time. Han Shang and his companion, angered by the accusation, quickly denied it. Sarcastically, Wu Di asked if they were living on air. Hearing that, both Junwu and Zhang Yixian immediately ordered them to be silent. After the situation calmed down, Zhang Yixian admitted there was a secret he couldn't reveal, one not meant for outsiders. Junwu emphasized how important the information was. After a moment of thought, Zhang Yixian agreed to share it, if it proved relevant. Han Shang questioned Zhang Yixian's decision, but Zhang Yixian reassured him, saying the Jiangnan team could be trusted. Zhang Yixian then asked Junwu and his team to follow him to a nearby building. Along the way, Bailey noticed a strong smell of blood. Junwu, increasingly sensitive to his surroundings due to his fading eyesight, sensed something horrifying inside the building. Zhang Yixian asked if they still wanted to know what was inside. Wu Di calmly replied that there was nothing to fear. Once inside, they found apples scattered everywhere. Curious, Junwu asked if that was the food they fed everyone. Zhang Yixian explained that the fruits came from a sacred mutant tree they called the blood vine. The tree was rich in nutrients and tasted quite good. The giant tree used corpses as fertilizer, absorbing their vital energy and converting it into food. He added that the red fruit was a valuable food source for their sect as he handed one to Junwu. Junwu's team felt something was off about the fruit. However, Zhang Yixian reassured them that the fruit was safe. They had been eating it for months without issue. Even so, the explanation didn't completely convince Junwu. He continued to question how the Snow Sect could produce such a large quantity of the fruit to feed everyone. Realizing his explanation wasn't enough, Zhang Yixian decided to provide more details. He pointed to the hanging corpses and explained that there was a way to accelerate the fruit's growth, by using human bodies as a catalyst. The horrifying sight shocked Xiaoyu, who suddenly realized that humans were being used in the process. Zhang Yixian elaborated that the hanging bodies were already dead, placed there to speed up fruit production. He then led them into the main chamber, where they saw a massive tree surrounded by dozens of cocoons containing human bodies. Zhang Yixian expressed his gratitude that the flesh and blood of their allies still gave hope for their followers' survival. Woody noted that what they were seeing resembled cannibalism. Xiaoyu added that at least it could prevent the spread of disease. Zhang Yixian stressed that this information was a great secret of their clan and hoped they would keep it confidential. Junwu nodded in agreement and assured him the secret would be safe with them. As he did, he tossed the apple he had been holding to Woody. Woody, uninterested, threw the apple to another teammate, who also refused to eat it. After that, they left the building. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi stayed behind, wearing a suspicious smile, as if he were plotting something. Outside, Junwoo spoke again with Zhang Yi about rumors surrounding the Snow Sect leader's unique powers. Junwoo requested to meet him. Zhang Yi was surprised by the request, but quickly regained his composure and told them to wait while he informed his leader. Woody commented that he sensed a sinister aura in that place. Another team member noted that such things often happened in religious organizations that kept dark secrets. Vice Captain Bailey then asked Junwoo why high-ranking officials were so interested in Yuan Kongye. Junwoo explained that an important person had once mentioned Yuan Kongye's potential, saying he could awaken hidden abilities in anyone without side effects. If that were true, Yuan Kongye would be extremely valuable to their organization. Bailey found the explanation reasonable. However, Junwoo warned that the situation might be more complicated than it appeared. This only increased Bailey's curiosity. Junwoo explained that extraordinary powers usually came at a high price, and he doubted the accuracy of the information about Yuan Kongye. Therefore, one of their missions in the city was to investigate Yuan Kongye's abilities further. Bailey then asked what their next step would be if Yuan Kongye's abilities truly came without a price. Junwoo replied that if that were true, Yuan Kongye could be classified as a level 5 epsilon. However, Junwoo reminded them that this was only a small possibility, as he had not yet seen Yuan Kongye's true abilities. Some time later, Zhang Yi returned and invited Junwoo inside to meet the leader of the Snow Sect. Bailey, watching from a distance, didn't notice anything unusual about the Snow Sect's leader. After the conversation ended, Junwoo returned to his troops. Bailey, still observing from afar, remained curious about the true strength of the sect's leader. After the meeting, Junwoo revealed that he could not assess the leader's abilities based solely on words. He felt there was something off about the girl. Xiaoyu, surprised by this, asked what the problem was. Junwoo explained that the issue lay in the girl's mental state. She seemed to be carrying a heavy burden. Xiaoyu could understand that, though her expression said otherwise. Bailey commented that, considering she was the leader of a religious sect, it wasn't surprising if she had mental issues. Junwoo then instructed everyone to focus on the primary mission and delay any judgments about Yuan Kongye's powers, as there was still plenty of time to investigate. Not long after, the troops from Tianhai began to arrive. Zhang Yi and his team finally reached the Snow Sect. He stepped out of the vehicle with Zhao Qier and asked her to stay close while he searched for a safer location. Zhao Qier followed the order without hesitation. As they walked, Zhang Yi saw Tian and asked why he was late. Tian casually replied that as the leader of a large base, there were many matters to handle. It would be much easier if he led a smaller team like Zhang Yi's. Inside the main building, the leaders from various bases were already waiting for their arrival. Zhang Yi saw Yuan Kongye for the first time and thought he looked too young to be leading a religious sect. Tian remarked that Yuan Kongye even seemed underage. Zhang Yi joked, reminding Tian to control his strange tendencies. Tian denied the implication, saying Zhang Yi knew he only liked older women. The meeting began, and Junwoo immediately revealed that they had captured one of the zombie leaders. Everyone was shocked, especially Hong Lian, when Junwoo explained that once a zombie leader was killed, all the zombies under its command would stop moving in an organized way. Thus, to resolve the zombie issue in Tianhai, they only needed to destroy their leader. However, Tian interrupted, saying that although the information was helpful, they still needed to learn more about the Zombie King. Junwoo assured everyone that he would show them the captured Zombie King. To everyone's surprise, the so-called Zombie King turned out to be a white monkey. The revelation stunned the room. The creature controlling the zombies wasn't even human. Junwoo explained that while the monkey was highly intelligent, its combat ability was extremely weak. Zhang Yi compared the monkey to an insect, where the queen was much more intelligent than the rest. Junwoo agreed, saying the Zombie King was cowardly and preferred to hide in the subway tunnels. The proposed strategy was to lure the zombies out of the tunnels to a predetermined location while elite forces infiltrated the tunnels to kill the Zombie King. However, Zhang Yi, listening with a worried expression, asked if the plan involved using the Snow Sect's members as bait. Tension rose as Zhang Yi and his sect leader became angry upon learning that this was indeed part of the plan. Wei Ding Tian took the opportunity to mock the Snow Sect, saying the only reason their headquarters was chosen as the battlefield was because they had the largest number of followers. Junwoo quickly interjected, explaining that although the situation seemed disadvantageous, there was a critical reason behind the decision. The Snow Sect was the most vulnerable. Without proper protection or underground shelters, gathering all the strongest fighters there was the best protection they could get. Zhang Yi questioned Junwoo's plan, worried that it would only attract more zombies to attack the sect. But that was exactly what Junwoo intended. They were all hoping this battle would be the opportunity to end the zombie outbreak. Zhang Yi became upset and asked whether they all truly didn't care about the lives of the Snow Sect's followers. Hong Lian, with a cold attitude, suggested that Zhang Yi should be more rational. She argued that if he thought about it carefully, the plan was meant to eliminate the zombie threat and save the lives of the sect's most vulnerable members, who had been the primary victims all along. If this plan wasn't carried out, the bases would remain safe inside their strongholds for a while, but unprotected places like the Snow Sect wouldn't last long. Still, Zhang Yi insisted that there was no justification for using his followers as bait. Junwoo then asked if Zhang Yi had a better solution. He reminded everyone that they had traveled a long way from the southern regions to help resolve the zombie outbreak, and now all the bases in Tianhai were here to assist. Junwoo questioned whether, if the Snow Sect followers were being used as bait, shouldn't everyone present also be considered bait? He emphasized that they would not let the Snow Sect face this battle alone. Zhang Yi added that when the time came, the front lines would be the first to face danger. They had the strongest fighters in Tianhai to protect the Snow Sect's followers, and he was puzzled as to why Zhang Yi still felt the need to complain. Although still filled with anger, Zhang Yi demanded a more convincing battle strategy from Junwoo. Junwoo assured them that there was no need to worry, as he had prepared a plan that was simple yet effective. The plan was to use everyone as bait to draw the zombies' attention, while their elite forces launched a direct attack on the enemy's base. Zhang Yi, disappointed, didn't support the decision. Zhang Yi believed the plan was too risky. Tian, who was listening, asked whether the plan depended solely on zombies coming in search of food. Junwoo confirmed and added that zombies were foolish, while the intelligent people in this room could handle them easily. Zhang Yi began to doubt the number of zombies that might come. He speculated that their numbers could reach tens or even hundreds of thousands. He warned that with so many zombies, their current defenses might not be enough. Junwoo replied that if that was truly the case, then everyone had to be prepared to fight to the death to protect their territories. Zhang Yi expressed concern that some individuals might act recklessly, causing unnecessary deaths among the Snow Sect followers. Xiao Honglian, feeling accused, told Zhang Yi not to be so suspicious, reminding him that the troops from other bases would also be in danger. Junwoo then asked if there were any suggestions for planning a safer approach. Kang Yi proposed setting up a special protection area for those who couldn't fight, so they would be shielded from zombie attacks. Junwoo agreed with the idea but emphasized that the area should only be occupied by children under the age of 14, as many of the Snow Sect's adult members were needed to help defend. Honglian and Wei Dinghai exchanged glances, signaling their agreement with the plan. Kang Yi decided to use the temple as the children's shelter, believing that the gods would protect everyone inside. Junwoo began handing out radios to everyone, reminding them to prepare plenty of supplies, as this battle was likely to be a long one.